I'm Rachel.
And I'm Shelley.
Welcome to a new episode of Chicks and
And
Dicks.
Dicks.
Yes! We said it at the same time.
No, we totally didn't.
We said Chicks and Dicks.
Unless there's like lag going on that I'm unaware
I
of.
think you have a lag. Because we totally said it at the same time.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Or it's my wine kicking in. It's also
yeah.
a possibility.
Yeah, there's a good chance of that.
Mm-hmm. I needed the wine for this book. How are you doing, Rach?
I'm okay. My lower back really hurts. So we've been over this. How are you?
This book was my choice.
Yes.
And
talk to us about why you chose this book in particular.
So as we know, to our one listener, like we are always trying to like kind of push the bounds of what we know as romance. And like, we've done dinosaur, we've done Mormon, we've done.
Oh, I guess technically done dinosaur. Well, Chuck Tingle, he's
Chuck Tingle, like
all over the place.
So, yeah, exactly. Like we've done a lot of different genres, right?
We're branching out.
I was like, we haven't done anything with really a lot of like minorities, unless you're counting like dinosaurs as a minority, which fine, but not realistic. So I picked like an urban romance, and I went to my local bookstore, which is all of 200 square feet. And I asked them, I'm like, do you have anything interesting, like in the romance section, like anything that's like kind of not the usual? And she's like, actually, one of my coworkers just ordered this in. And she handed me this like urban, like with like, and it's like Payback is a Mutha is the name of the book. And it's Wahida Clark. And it's like on the page, it's like two people of African American descent. I'm like, oh, we haven't read anything with like African Americans or Black people, however you want to say it. And I was like, I live in a town of 20,000 people, and I would say 99.9% of them are white.
Yeah.
It's becoming more diverse now, absolutely. But I mean, I grew up in Toronto, which is, like maybe 60%.
Toronto's actually pretty multicultural. The part of Toronto where you grew up is not.
No, but the school I went to was actually very different because it was a music school. So that's where I met a lot over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you had like a good music background, you got into the school, so on and so forth. Anyway, but whatever. So it's just either way, when you grow up and you're in a multicultural society and then you come to like the town that I live in, it's a little bit of a shocker sometimes. But anyway, to see this in my bookstore, I was like, right on. And she was like, well, tell me how it goes. I don't know if I want to tell her how it goes because I would not classify this book as a romance. This is an urban fiction.
No, this is fiction through and through. It definitely has sex in it. Quite a bit of it, in fact.
It has people who want romance.
It's not a romance novel. And I learned something interesting about the romance classification. For a book to actually be classified in the genre of romance, the two main characters have to have a happily ever after.
Well, this is not the case.
So, no, there are no happily ever afters in this book. Otherwise, it would be classified as a love story. It can't actually be filed under romance.
And actually, as a trigger warning, if you're going to listen to the rest of this episode, you're going to have to put up with Rachel and I misclassifying and misunderstanding certain cultural differences. Oh. You're going to have to put up with a lot of domestic violence, rape, rape,
and a little bit more rape,
hate crimes, shootings, drugs,
homophobia,
addiction, suicide, homophobia.
Yeah, the list goes on.
So if you don't like any of these topics,
we'll see you next week.
Yeah. We've been doing this a lot lately, giving a lot of caveats.
Well, it's important, right? Because everybody likes something different, and not every book is for every reader. And I think it's important that our listeners know what they're getting into, because we don't know what we're getting into when we sit down to read this stuff.
I feel badly for the sense of, I wanted a romance in a different genre, and I feel like this is playing on a lot of like stereotypical tropes.
Well,
to a certain degree.
I mean, we'll get to that. But maybe first we should kind of get into the book itself.
Okay. Also, I'm going to tell an embarrassing story about the fact that I started reading this book and I had to go to the audio version because I had so much to do for work. And for work, every once in a while, like I'm in the truck a lot doing a whole bunch of stuff. So like I was commuting and I was like, I don't have time. So I'm going to just download the audio version. The audio version of this book, there's a lot of N words and there's a lot of there's a lot of fucking language. Like I swear a lot. This book is like a lot of language. And the audio portion of it has a lot of like high pitched kind of like stereotypical like kind of
Voice
Jerry
acting?
Springer-esque voice acting. And so I pulled up to Tim Hortons for all of the Americans there. It's like
a Dunkin' Donuts.
Like a Dunkin' Donuts. And I forgot kind of what I was listening to at the time because I was kind of like listening to the book, but I was just about to order my coffee and my toasted bagel with butter. And so I'm ordering my toasted bagel with butter, and in the background it's like, N-word this, yo, motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, and I just ordered my drink. And like the fucking people on the other side start laughing their asses off. And they're just like, and I'm just like, oh my God, I didn't even realize. And then I pull up to get my order, and it's just like, they're all laughing at me, and I'm a fucking white girl in a Toyota Tacoma. Like, just I was like, yeah, awesome, pretty much. And then another time I was listening to it again, and it was warm out, so I rolled down my windows, and then I had to like roll them back up because I reminded myself of what I was listening to. It was the same shit, and I'm just sitting there at a stoplight, and like everybody has their windows down because it's a nice day, and it's not like super hot where I need AC, but it was nice enough that you want to, get some fresh air. Yeah, no, I couldn't. I had to like roll them back up. I was like, oh yeah, no, this is not going to happen in traffic. No. So anyway, yeah, embarrassing. Totally.
Oh my God. Yep, yeah, I didn't have that problem.
So just FYI, if you are listening to romance novels of any genre,
it doesn't matter what they are.
Hot, spicy part, maybe just like turn it down, or
be mindful of where you are and who can hear it.
Yes.
An important lesson for all of us. Thank you.
Oh my God, Rachel, it was so embarrassing. Like I really didn't clue in at first. I was what the fuck?
I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. All right, shall we?
Let's.
Okay. All right. As Shelley said, we read Payback is a Mother by Wahida Clark. And this is Payback number 1. So I assume there are other books in this Payback series.
Which you can find in the Collingwood bookstore, by the way. They have.
Well, there you go. Let's take a trip to Collingwood, all of us, and go book shopping.
Oh my God.
In her hot, gritty new urban drama, Essence bestselling author Wahida Clark tells the story of a woman who thinks she has everything, but who really has everything to lose, starting with her best friend and ending with her life. Brianna and Sean couldn't be more different. From her $1,200 weave to her closet full of Gucci.
Is it Shan or Sean? I say Shan.
I say Sean. I don't know. I'll say Sean, and you keep saying Shan, and one of us was right.
It's just like SHAN. So
yeah, I don't know how to pronounce this. Another thing. I will be mispronouncing pretty much everybody's name, and I apologize for it.
There are a shitload of characters to keep track of.
We'll get to that. In the meantime, Brianna believes that men were born to bankroll her lifestyle. Sean likes to make her own money by working for a living at a men's prison and prefers Sean John, Baby Fat, and Fubu to Jimmy Choo. Still, despite appearances, Sean and B are sisters where it counts, or so they think. For B, lying is part of the hustle, and the hustle is what gets her sex, clothes, cars, pretty much whatever she wants. She couldn't care less who gets hurt along the way, as long as it isn't her. But it's one thing to hustle tricks and quite another to betray the one person who really cares. When one of B's schemes goes too far, blood is spilled and Sean is caught in the crossfire. Now, with friendship and lives on the line, Brianna's got one last chance to change her ways or suffer the consequences.
Well,
okay.
I think we know what happens in the end.
So, this book could have done well to have a... What's the word? Dramatis personae? What you get at the front of a Shakespeare play.
Yes. Yes.
The cast of characters. There are so many of them.
Yeah.
And people just
Yeah, there
come
are.
and go also. And
Mhm.
I actually really enjoy my Shakespeare comparison because I think this book is a little bit Shakespearean.
I agree.
Right?
It's a tragedy.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, like, but it is hands down. Like, I feel, I, I think this author did a really good job in weaving everything in. Do you know what I mean? Like, it would take quite a bit to,
Well, there's a
because you do
lot
get a
going
sense,
on.
yeah, and you get a sense of like the actual drama and how a lot of the characters are torn. But it's just, like I don't know. I think Wahida Clark has a definite flair, A, for the dramatic, but also B, for kind of weaving together a whole bunch of characters. Like, are there things that I think she could do better? Yes, but I think she does a good job.
She does a pretty good job because everybody's hustling. I know what that sounds like, but it is true. Every single character in this book is hustling in one way or another. And it's
Like,
how all of these different plot lines come together. Some overlap, some just sort of like, pass by each other in the night, let's say. And so it's just, in terms of keeping track of everything that's going on, there's quite a lot of work to be done on the part of the
yeah.
reader, which means the author kind of had to keep all of this stuff straight in her head, or maybe a flow chart somewhere.
Yeah, Sean slash Shan, like, definitely is like the only character you get that isn't hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of like she's your protagonist to a certain degree. Like, you follow Shan through a lot of this shit. Like, her and Brianna are both protagonists, or
Yes.
Brienne. But the one thing that I would have to say is, like, Shan is kind of like the white knight, and Brienne is like just all about the booty. And at the very beginning, I think that Wahida does a really good job at kind of setting the characters up exactly as they are.
Yeah. Well, and everyone is who they appear to be. So they kind of wear their identities on their sleeves, and that's fine.
I disagree, because Shady ends up taking a fucking twist.
Yes, he does. He absolutely does.
Disagree.
And if it is pronounced Shady, that's a really good name for him.
Yes.
Might also be Shadi. Again, I don't know how to pronounce any of these names.
I'm saying Shady anyway. So,
But you
because
listen to
that's
the
how
audiobook and they say his
I
name.
did, yeah.
So
yeah,
was it Shady?
was Shan and it was Shan and Shady.
It was
yeah.
Shan and Shady. Okay, all right, we got that straight. Okay, good.
And I fucking hated the name Peanut. And whenever the author, like, or the woman who was doing it was like, Peanut. It was like, Peanut. It was like this fucking high pitched squeal whenever this one character said his name, and I was like, fucking shut up.
Okay,
so, like,
I'm gonna write down the cast of characters because there's so many of them. Okay, so we have Shan, who teaches computers at the local prison. Her best friend Brianna. They've known each other their whole lives. They're super duper close, but they're very, very different. We have Peanut, who is Shan's brother. We have Shady, who is a drug dealer and uses Brianna as a stash house, essentially. So he stores some drugs and some money at Brianna's house, and he drops by from time to time, and they have sex. Then we have Forever, who is in prison, and he is assigned to help Shan. We have Nyla, who is Forever's wife. We have Janae, who is Shady's wife. And we have Kiki, who is Peanut's wife. Other characters include someone named Briggan, who is also called Calvin. He is a guy that Shan hooked up with once upon a time, and they like each other. Calvin / Briggan, he is everyone's a drug dealer, but he also has a bunch of legitimate businesses. And he has this sort of gaggle of women who run his businesses for him, and
that he actually likes. So if he actually likes you, you run his business.
Yes, and he wants Shan to run a business for him at some point. He talks about trying to get her in on his hustle. We have
and he is
Sky.
Also Forever's brother.
He is Forever's brother. And then we have a guy named Sky, who is also a drug dealer. Hook and Rob and Nick. And that's kind of, I guess that's it for like important people to keep track of in this
So
story.
the one thing that I found also with the setup of this book is like, aside from the cast of characters, is like it took I think like 3/4 of the book to understand where the fuck I was. I was like, where am I?
You mean
Like I'm
geographically?
yeah, like I'm in the projects somewhere.
Oh, it's set in, I think it's Memphis.
Yes, it is Memphis. And it's just like one of those things where like that is not really described until later. So like in my mind, I was just trying to picture like a geography or even like a zone by which they would be dressing. Like, do you know what I mean? Because like it tells you where they are. If they're in like New York, if they're in fucking the South, if they're in the North, and Northeast, Northwest. Like I just want to know even fucking Florida, if they're in like Miami. Like I don't fucking know. Like it just I would have liked a little bit more reference to like where they were earlier. Oh, apparently Siri's doesn't know how to respond to that. But I feel the same way as Siri. So
yeah, so it took me a while to figure it out. It took me a while to figure it out as well. It is set in Memphis.
Because they don't say until like 3/4 of the way through the book.
No, they don't. They mention Atlanta from time to time. I think they mention Florida. So it's a little, anyway, not that it really matters. The point is that all of these people live in the same city and they all know each other. Everyone is connected in one way or another.
And most of them grew up together. They're either related or they've dated each other.
Yes.
Or they've all fucked the same person.
Oh my God. So let's talk about the sex in this book. It is very casual and very transactional.
Yeah. So I think we can go on about the transactional experience when we describe the book itself. Like when we go through the book, we can describe as per, because the transactions are part of the story in this book.
In a sense, yes. And it's because, I don't even know how to talk about the story though. So
we start off with, so Brienne gets a job and it's at a fucking correctional facility.
No, Shan.
And
Shan has a job at the prison.
Yeah, so Shan gets a job at the prison. She hasn't started yet. She's like going out to celebrate with her girl, Brienne. Brienne is like Brianna. Sorry. Okay, fine.
Call
Brianna, like B. Yeah, okay. So B goes and she's the one who likes, like, she's got her Lexus. She's like hustled all these dudes for her shit. Like she just loves all the designers, blah, blah, blah. And so Shan tells Brienne that she got this job, and Brienne kind of doesn't really give a shit most of the time, but is like, hey, let's go celebrate, kind of looking for an excuse to go party and club, right? Fine.
Yeah.
So the one thing right away that bothered me about this was the fact that Brianna is always late and like doesn't give a fuck about anybody's like so rude. Yeah. So fucking rude. Like I'd never go out with this bitch. I'd be like, she's like 3 hours late typily. Like, this bitch is like,
shit, that is, what are you doing? You're 3 hours late.
Like, but we know what she's doing. She's fucking having drug dealers come to her house because they use her house as a safe house for their drugs.
Yeah, and then she's hopping on every dick that happens by.
No. And then she fucks them because she gets free 8-balls for it.
And cash. She gets the 8-balls later. It's mostly cash.
Yeah, it's mostly, so she gets like all the cash for it because she's this fucking safe house. It's not like they actually care, and it's like she cares. Total business transaction.
Yeah.
She's a whore.
She is absolutely. And that's what I said about the sex being casual and transactional, because every time Brianna has sex, she gets paid.
But the one thing I have to also note about that is like every single time they have sex, she gets off somehow. Like the woman always orgasms in these books.
Yes, she does.
Yeah.
And then gets
every
punched
single
in the
time.
face.
Yes, she gets punched. Like all of them get punched in the face a lot.
Again, as we mentioned, there is a lot of violence, and it's so casual. This is just
so it's like
part of
he has his
daily
life.
His
hand on her throat, like all this like shit. Like he had her up against the wall, his hand on her throat. Yo, bitch, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
and you're like,
and the women are going around punching each other in the face. Okay, so at the club, when they finally get there, Shan sees this guy, Calvin, and she knows him as Calvin. everyone else calls him Brigand. So right away she thinks that this dude's been lying to her. Turns out Calvin owns the club. He is also called Brigand. And Shan's upset because she thought that they had a connection, and he just like doesn't really have a reason as to why he never called her back, even though he likes
and
her.
They spent like 2 days in Vegas together on
they
a
went
trip.
To Vegas together.
And they had a great time and so on and so forth. And so she was like, "Oh, he was totally awesome." And then Brianna's like, "Dude, that's like one of the biggest drug dealers in town. Like, are you like tripping, quote unquote?" Like, and then she's kind of jealous of the fact that, you know, Shan has been able to nail this super baller
that she's been after. Yeah.
And I had to look up a couple of words because, like, Urban Dictionary, thank you very much, because there was some shit that, like, I am just completely ignorant of. First of all, onion is an ass.
Yes, you have your note here before you switched over to the audiobook. I have all of your marginalia.
I had to look, like, and I'm just like, and also like how much the drugs were worth that she was stashing. I'm like, shit, that's a lot of money. Like, it's just like I had to look it up.
She's stashing 6 kilos, and you wrote down 60,000 to 120,000 USD according to the UN docs.
Yeah. I had to go on the UN docs to fucking find it. Like, I didn't want just some arbitrary number, so I went to the UN and found it. It's
6 kilos. My goodness.
That 6 kilos is a lot to hide in your fucking apartment. Anyway, so Brigand is known as being like the biggest dope dealer in town. Brianna gets a little bit jealous, but wants to but is fucking Shan's brother behind Brianna's back and has been fucking him since they were like 16.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, and Brianna has no idea that Shan has no idea that Brianna and Peanut, her brother, have been fucking for this long. So she basically uses this guy, Sky, as like an out to get out of the club and says like, "Hey, I'm going to go pick up this dude." And Shannon's kind of like, "Don't leave me here." And she's just like, "Yeah, I'm going to go do this. You got this. You can drive my Lexus home. It's all good." Like, Brianna's a fucking bitch from the very beginning.
Horrible friend.
And she's not a friend. She's like, as far as I'm concerned, she's never been a friend. So anyway, so Brianna then goes out with this guy, Sky, drops Sky at the club and is like, "See you later, bitch," like kind of idea, and then gets Peanut to pick her up and then goes and fucks Peanut for the night, who has what they call a wifey. It's not like a wife. They're not necessarily married. It's like their go-to girl.
I think it's their ride or die chick. I think that's what wifey is. And quite unusually, I think in every case in this book, wifey is the mother to their children.
Yes. So then, or they're like romantic, quote unquote, romantic lover or whatever.
They all have kids, though, and so wifey is the mom, and she's like at the top of the pile in terms like of all chain. The women. Yeah, she's at the top.
Yeah. So anyway, so Brianna goes to fuck Peanut, and then fucking poor Shan is left in this club where all of a sudden this Brigand, because Brigand starts giving her attention and like wanting her to be around, and she's like, "Fuck you, you lied to me, I don't like you, like this is not the way things should work." But all of a sudden this woman fucking comes up to her who is Brigand's kind of like other woman. One of the many girlfriends.
He's got all these girlfriends who run his businesses, and so there are 2 of them in the club, and they're like shooting daggers at Shan because they don't like Brigand talking to some other fucking chick. She gets punched in the face, and they have a huge fight. And Brigand like takes her out of the club, throws her in his Escalade, and like drives her home. And so it's just been like a horrible night for Shan.
Can I just say, it's not even that she punches her in the face. She gets punched in the face multiple times. It's like bleeding.
No, it's a full-on fight.
It's a full-on fucking fight. And then she goes outside to relax, and like Brigand's like, everything's cool. His other girlfriend drives up and beats the shit out of her.
Again!
It's just like, it's like, yeah, it's like this poor girl just goes to this club to celebrate her fucking going out.
And she didn't even want to go out, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, and like her buddy picks the club, and she goes out, and she just gets the shit kicked out of her constantly.
Yeah,
like constantly, and and then she has to like work the next day or the couple days afterward. like just like out of prison, and she's got fucking black eyes and a broken nose. Like, fuck, like you're just like, this is. Yeah, I was just from the very get go. I'm like, Brianna needs to fucking die. Like, but anyway.
Anyway, so Shan starts work at the prison where she meets Forever, who's in for 5 years doing a dime, I guess.
What does that mean, doing a dime?
5 years.
Doing 10 years or something? Dime
I
is
guess
5
a
years?
nickel would be, yeah, a dime would be 10 years. A nickel? I'm going to stop now. I'm
Does anybody
embarrassing
say yes?
myself. The fuck, right?
Yeah, you are.
So he's in prison. He's got like a year left on his 5-year sentence. He is assigned to help Shan, like he does janitorial duties, so he has to clean up her office and whatnot. Apparently he's like super duper good looking. She's attracted to him. He's attracted to her. Forever's got his own problems though, because he smuggles drugs into the prison via one of the guards who has, I think, been fired or left or whatever. So everyone in the prison is jonesing and he can't provide any of the drugs, and so his business is suffering. And so Forever thinks that he might be able to use Shan as his mule to get drugs into the prison to make these drops. So he sort of starts up this flirtation with her, and over the course of the book, it becomes quite serious to the point where they're fucking all the time in her office.
And also, like, I have to say, like, fucking sans condoms, fucking sans, like, whatever. Yeah. Like, he just takes her on the desk, like, left, right, and center. It's pretty extreme. But also, like, from the very beginning, Shan's like, I'm such a good judge of character. And I'm like, really? Then why is Brianna your best fucking friend? Like, right.
Well, I think that's very because they've known each other forever. I think that, like,
yeah, but she's always like, but she has this delusion where she thinks she's a good judge of character, and she's really not. But anyway, so she like falls for Forever because Forever is like her like so great and blah blah blah, and it's total bullshit. But anyway, so Forever uses the fuck out of Shan.
Well, not yet. So one of Brianna's hustles is that she sets people up to be robbed, and she sets up Shady right at the start of the book. After he drops off some drugs at her house, she
fucks her.
And fucks her. When he leaves, he gets jumped by these other dudes. And for part of the book, he doesn't know that she set him up, and she gets like paid out for all of these setups. And at some point,
and to be fair, like Shady's known her forever, and doesn't want to also believe that he would
do that. Yes, because they're also very close. And then at some point, I got actually a little confused as to what was going on. So Peanut, Shan's brother, he's trying to, I guess, work his way up to becoming another legitimate, recognized drug dealer, I guess. He needs to come up. And so Brianna hooks him up with Sky, and they get arrested. Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure if Brianna set up everyone to get arrested, or if it was a setup just to get Peanut arrested, because Sky gets really upset with Brianna because he's like, well, this dude had all this heat on him. So I'm like, I'm not 100% sure what happened there.
She sets Peanut up to be like, she
just put Peanut and Sky together just to work a job.
She set them up together. And then fucking didn't realize like what the consequence, and because she never realizes the consequence of her action, just
because
like
they get arrested
she's like,
in Detroit.
And then when Shady got the shit beaten out of him, she's like, oh my god, I don't realize that like you could have been killed. Because Shady always has a certain amount of cash on him, and Brianna's logic was
just in case he gets rolled.
So like, oh, he's just gonna get rolled by these guys. Didn't realize like the amount of cocaine and the amount of
didn't realize that these guys brought a gun to a knife fight and were planning to just shoot him.
Yeah. So, and then after, like, just, it's just like so fucked up. But then, so Peanut got arrested with Shady, with Sky. But the thing is, they were in like enemy territory. So the jail that he ends up being in is like with all these other fucking thugs that are not.
Because Peanut is a former blood.
Yeah.
Anyway, but I was just confused as to sort of like the mechanism of how he got
Yeah,
arrested,
like no,
and
like I
like
agree. Like
it's
not
not very
exactly clear.
clear. And everyone blames Brianna for Peanut being in jail now.
Rightfully. Okay, I think that
And
90% of this book you could blame Brianna for everything, and you're probably right.
but I don't know if like again I like she said she put Peanut and Sky together to I guess run drugs up to Detroit or pick them up. Who knows what was going on? And they get arrested in Detroit. But I don't think the arrest is Brianna's fault and a setup. She just put those two together, and it just didn't work out very well for anybody. Whatever. The point is,
Yeah.
Peanut's now in prison, and Shan doesn't have the money to pay for his bail or his lawyer, who is charging an exorbitant amount of money. So
And Brianna's a whole, and Brianna's a dick.
and Brianna's a dick. So Shan needs to get all this money together to help out her brother, and this is the opportunity that Forever needs to get Shan to agree to help bring drugs into the prison.
I'm not going to deny, like, in this whole book, I always wanted Shan to like remain on the straight and narrow.
Me
And
too.
you see this coming, and you hope that she's going to dig it out, because at the very beginning, Forever is having phone calls with people and being like, yeah, I've got an in, like I'm totally using this bitch and I'm fucking her and so on and so forth. And you're like, God damn it, Shan, see the light. See the light. Like you're like, you really want Shan to like pull through and be fucking good on this one. And when you see her start to fall, you're like, oh, like you just,
what are you
it's
doing? Yeah.
You're like, when
It's
first of all,
upsetting.
when you see her start to get manipulated and fucked by Forever, because Shan really is just a good soul that is manipulated throughout this whole
by
book.
everyone around her.
By
Yeah.
everyone. And she's like, I'm a good judge of character. I'm like, no, bitch, you're like the worst.
You're
like the worst judge of character.
You don't have any street sense. Everyone else in this book.
But you're still like rooting for her. Like at some point you're like, things have got to pick up for Shan. Things have got to pick up for Shan.
She's the best person in the book. Like in terms of, I guess, ethics and morals and all the rest of it. Yeah.
And just her ideas, like she's like the romanticist. Like she's like, oh, and Forever really loves me, and you're like, no, he doesn't. He's using you. And like you have,
all, but,
and I actually like the way that Wahida Clark wrote this, because you really are frustrated in the situation. Like you are kind of sitting there going like, Shan, don't do it, and you could be very passive, but I was very much rooting for Shan to get out of this situation.
Yeah, and it just got worse and worse.
No, right?
So also the passage of time is difficult to grasp, because like days will go by and then whole weeks will go by and then it'll be like months later. I'm like, I don't know what time it is.
Does it matter though? Does it?
I guess not. But again, it's like Shan keeps saying she needs this $4,000. No, wait, it was like $35,000. She needed a lot of money, and she needed it yesterday. But Peanut's in prison for like or jail for a couple of months.
For a while.
Before she gets enough money to get him out of there. So, I don't know. And then
so basically what happens is Forever convinces Shan to start running drugs for him to get them into the prison.
Yep. And then she finds out that the drugs are coming from Briggan. And Briggan is Forever's brother. And when Briggan finds out that Forever turned Shan, he gets fucking mad.
So I think the best character in this book is Briggan.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Like, first of all, I mean, they're all fucking shady as shit. Absolutely. Like, he has like 10 other businesses on the side, but when he likes someone, he's actually quite loyal to them. Like, he likes Shan. He tries to dig her out. If she had asked him for money, he would have given it to help dig everything out. Shan, and she has too much pride to dig herself out of this situation. And every single time, like,
stupid.
Briggan has actually tried to support her in 8 million ways, and she does not fucking listen because she has too much pride and feels used because of their Vegas weekend, not knowing who she actually was.
At the same time, though, Briggan wants her to join his, like, weird empire that he has going on. And she doesn't want to work for him, and that's fine. She can make that choice.
But absolutely, she could make that choice. But I don't know. Like, I get the inkling of the fact that like had Shan asked Brigham for the money, she would have been better in his empire than her situation at the
No,
end.
she would, but then she would have been beholden to him
I don't know,
forever.
like
She
I
would.
don't
She would
like
then have to. Yeah, I like. I know why she doesn't go around asking people for the money, and why she doesn't ask Brigham when he says, "I'll just give it to you." And then she does regret later on not making that choice, but at the same time, it's like she wants to do this on her own. She doesn't want to owe anybody, and she knows what kind of person he is, and doesn't want to have one. She doesn't want to be a part of that. Anyway, Brigham finds out that she's running
but she
dope.
ends up being a part of something much worse.
I know,
like,
and
that's
like
what I'm saying.
yeah, so
like, oh, do you want to run drugs for a fucking prison colony, or do you want to just fucking be a part of someone's like illegitimate business practices? I'm sorry, but like you want to
be share that guy with all these other hoes.
Yeah, but also at the
That's
same time,
fair.
and also at the same time, she doesn't know that she's sharing a guy already with another hoe.
I mean, everybody's fucking everyone.
And what she does,
you need a flow chart to
right?
keep track of it all.
All right, so let's. In the meantime, however, okay, wait. So in the meantime, so you kind of have like these two stories going on. You have Brianna's stories, which involves the same cast of characters of men.
Yeah.
And then you have Shan's story, which has the same cast of characters of men, but a different, like they're differently, like they have different relations. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So can we talk about Shady? Because he is very important.
Yeah. So if you remember, Shady is the dude who uses Brianna's place as a bit of a stash house. And
they've known each other since they were kids.
They have this very transactional, casual, sexual relationship. She set him up. He almost got killed. Then when Shady finally, when he finds out and accepts that Brianna set him up, he decides that he wants to get payback. And takes his sweet time doing it. And meanwhile, he gets caught by his wifey having gay sex with someone on his crew.
His number one on his crew.
And it is just, I don't think I have any words, honestly.
So I have words. So the one thing that I would say for that scene, I think this is the pivotal part in the book where it goes from like kind of dark to like
really dark,
really fucking dark. So when what's her name, Janae. So when Janae like finds them, her primary love, like whatever he would be called.
Call it a husband for
husband, yeah. Fucking his number one dude. And she doesn't know what to do. And she first of all thinks about killing him. And then she's like, nah, I'm not going to do that. But she like fucking throws a fit. And then he tells her that he has HIV.
No, he doesn't know. He's like, you need to get tested because I've been fucking guys bareback. Maybe I'm HIV, maybe I'm not. And it's like, what the actual fuck?
Well, fuck. First of all, also, there's a whole bunch of kind of tropes in here where it's basically like people who fuck dudes are going to end up with HIV because all the guys in this book who are homosexuals end up being HIV positive. And I think that's terrible. But it's either bad. Way, like...
But also, when Shady decides he's going to fuck as many dudes as possible, get sick so that he can fuck Brianna and get her sick. It's like, what?
Yeah, he basically
beg your pardon.
He wants Brianna to suffer so badly that he decides to hate fuck her. He gets engaged to her, so she thinks that they're romantically involved. And then he never tells her about a wifey. I don't know how the fuck these chicks don't ever find out about each other, but like, anyway, so he basically tells her, like, we're going to marry each other. We're going to be in love. Here's my fucking ring, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. He knows he's HIV positive at this time. And he fucks her because he wants her, quote unquote, to die slowly.
But there's a bit of a timing issue with that because shortly after he
I don't think it's
proposes.
shortly.
Then she gets gang raped. And that's when she
Wait,
finds
wait,
out that she's HIV positive. So she's actually, and it takes a while. So he's been
can
HIV
we?
positive longer than he knows that he's been sick.
Hmm.
And that means she got sick from him quite some time ago. So he's been positive likely this whole time since this book started and doesn't know it and doesn't seem to care because he says, I'm going to go out and I'm going to fuck a bunch of dudes and I'm going to get sick and I'm going to pass it on to Brianna. But it's like, you would already be sick at this point because, again, because the passage of time is like not a thing in this book. You can't account for any of it. The assumption that makes the most sense is that he's been sick all this time and didn't know it.
I mean, yes, but at the same time, like so when she goes to the hospital, so here, okay, I think we have to talk about the awful, awful rape
because
scene.
all this stuff happens like it's sort of like one thing after another with her. So she gets proposed to and then gang raped like at the almost on the same day.
Can we actually talk about why she gets gang raped?
Yes.
Because that's very important.
Shan finds out that Brianna is the reason Peanut's in jail.
So she calls Briggan and asks for a favor to exact revenge. She does not know that it's
Briggan
going to be
is like,
as brutal as it is.
Well, no, she says what she taught. We don't know exactly what the nature of the conversation was, but she says something to Briggan about getting revenge on Brianna, and he's like, are you sure this is what you want? I think Shan asked for Brianna to be raped.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And Briggan happens to have these like three dudes hanging out who love to rape bitches.
Yeah. So they go and they fucking the rape scenes. There's 2 rape scenes, and the rape scene for both of them, like for Brianna in particular, it's hard to read. It's
awful.
It's disgusting.
Awful.
And then
it should be.
And then what's her nuts, the wifey of Shady, ends up like also like he gets fucking taken.
Okay, so that happens a little later. The Shady. Let's focus on the Brianna thing. So
okay, so the Brianna thing, like, so she ends up being fucking raped. She ends up going to the hospital,
and that's where she finds out that she's and
she's like, there's no way that I could be HIV positive if we're from the rape. Oh my God, it's from Shady. So she fucking pieces together that Shady totally fucked her over. So Brianna goes into like this downward spiral of like meth use and whoring and
she's not whoring. She goes home, she trashes her apartment, and then she's like high for the rest of the book.
Yeah,
like it's just
And she keeps on trying to call Shan and apologize. Yeah. And Shan has nothing to do with it because she's like, you fucking started all this shit. I don't even want to talk to you. And like every once in a while, Shan will have kind of like a moment of like guilt, but then just goes back to like, well, she fucking brought it upon herself. To be fair, Brianna kind of did bring it on herself.
I mean, no one deserves to be.
I don't worry. No. But like at the same time, like if you're in that environment and these are the type of people you're hanging out with, you have to,
and now someone eventually is going to want revenge for what you did.
And the type of revenge, I don't think you would have been exactly sheltered from at this point in your life.
So that's pretty horrible. And then
it was awful. Like at this point, like the whole book goes from like dark to fucking worse.
Yeah. Because then Shan finds out that she's pregnant.
Yes, with Forever's child.
And she knows that Forever has an actual wife and daughter on the outside, and they come to visit all the time. And Shan goes out to talk. She waits for the wife to come one day for visiting and confronts her in the parking lot and is like, I am pregnant by your husband and I'm keeping the child. Mm-hmm. And Nyla, the wife, she's like all upset and pissed off. She threatens to leave Forever, which forces him to confess to her about Shan because he like denies. Mm-hmm. And it's just like He's not, and and in the book, it's like he feels guilty, and he's not man enough to admit what he did wrong. So I thought that was like kind of interesting to get a little bit of insight into Forever, because he
Mhm.
knows he's a piece of shit. Um, and so Nyla now wants to